engineering, so more, the software part of the software perspective on this technology. So indeed, it's really a very relevant topic, which is, we have been talking about data and information since this morning. But for us and for anyone, I think that the very important aspect is the accuracy or inaccuracy of these data. So the data quality, as Pierluigi called them. So and this is, besides the data traceability, data transparency, and other characteristics that we usually observe in data. So talking about data quality, I give the stage to Professor Pierluigi Gallo.
Thank you, Professor Brucoleri, for your presentation. And I have the slides, but I want to get to be a little bit closer to you because the element and the perspective that I want to introduce right now is related to something that Professor Mirello was saying before, and also was saying at the beginning of this, let's say, workshop. Because in the first panel, we were talking about, for example, taxi robots. Then we discussed what happens if robots take care also and take decisions. So not only taxis on humans for robots work, but if the robot takes decision, perhaps it gains also, and we need to tax the robots itself. So it changes also the perspective, but to understand who has to be taxed, what are the taxes, what is the contribution, and so on, we need to start from the data, because we need to understand which data are, let's say, valid for something. Because from my point of view, if I have a robot, I would say, yeah, I have a robot, but I don't use it, so why should I want to tax it? Or I'm a robot, but I don't get too much gain from this, so why should you want to tax me, for example? But it is an element that is relevant to data that come from, let's say, the digital world. Typically, when we use data, we have two different layers that interact with each other. One is in the digital world. And we can do a lot of things there. And I work in the digital world, so I'm very, let's say, well aware of what we can do on this. For example, all cryptocurrencies, everything there is related to the digital world. So I can send you money if I have this money, and this is just written somewhere into a ledger, perhaps a distributed ledger like a blockchain is, but it's a digital data. What happens if I'm discussing in a digital perspective of something that is in the physical world? We have another problem that is very, very big. That is the correspondence between something physical with something digital. And there are many, let's say, perspectives and many ways to approach this. One is the digital twin. So we have something physical, we have a digital perspective or digital projection of this physical element that can be a model, can be a data or metadata related to the physical object. But anyway, we cannot easily guarantee that what happens in the physical domain corresponds actually to what we have in the digital one. There is another problem that is very big, and I work with a lot of lawyers also on this perspective, which is also the interest that is behind data. Why? Because into the discussion, and also in the title of this conference, we are discussing about blockchain, AI, and security. These three elements were already in the title of the event. And typically we think about data as the basic element that permits to create knowledge on the top of this. But we don't need, and we need to understand also that these data have to be trusty. Because if these data are not trusty, everything falls down. For example, AI are models, is based on models that we teach somehow to behave starting from data. Try to imagine if data are corrupted, not only for, let's say, by the case, but also by purpose. So I could try to make this like evident. Let you think how it can happen with a boy, a child that is taught every day to put fingers in the nose. He will do this, and for him it will be normal. So if we teach these models with wrong data by purpose, we can obtain something that is also out of the scope and it is out of... So artificial intelligence is an element. Big data, extracting knowledge from data. Are these data valid or not? So which kind of knowledge we can extract from data that eventually are not, let's say, trusted? And the other element is also sensing. Why? Professor Pinello explained it in a way that it was perfect, and I think that when you obtain some data from the operator, or if you obtain some data from the environment, opportunistic, let's say, data from what it happened, it changes in the scenario. But the problem there is a hidden problem. What it happens if these data are in my domain and I work with those data, it is fine because I trust, of course, myself, and I know that if I do something, I do in the right way. But there is an interest behind those data, and these interests can be contrasting. I will do some example to explain what I mean with interest, because typically we say, okay, if there is a human into the loop, the human is a stakeholder. There are some interests that if you see this temperature like too low to be, let's say, comfortable, she perhaps thinks that is too high and so on. There is something subjective and something that is also related to interest. If I want to complain because it's too high, the temperature, I don't know, I have an interest behind that pushes in a direction rather than in another. When we use blockchain, a distributed ledger for example, the supply chain management, the supplier has an interest, the client has another one, the certificator has another interest, and all these interests are contrasting. So what is our approach to make these elements and to solve the problem that I said before? So we need to put all things together and to trust data. The problem that I say now, so to put different contrasting elements and interests in a way that the truth emerges and makes, let's say, the effect on what we need to do, and also on to be used, for example, to model and to train AI models. We need to have a sort of layer of trust on the top of those data. So AI, Internet of Things, or also big data can have another layer of trust, and trust, traceability, and transparency are the three elements that are related to blockchain technology. So we do this by putting those data from different sources and making a sort of, let's say, a check, double check if those data are somehow coherent or not, and we trust the majority of these interests. So I close here my talk since the time is up already.